Welcome to the show, Evin Collis. Thanks so much for taking the time to be here and talk to me today. Could you just give a brief introduction for people who don't who haven't heard of you?
Okay, yeah. Well, thanks, Josh, for having me on. Yeah, my name is Evin Collis. I guess I'm a visual artist and animator from Winnipeg, Manitoba, originally. Currently, I'm in Barcelona, Catalonia, Spain. And yeah, just this past summer, I launched the second zine of the Litter Pig series. So I guess that's one of the things we might be talking about.
Yeah, Litter Pig. I thanks so much for sending those over. They're amazing, by the way. Everybody really should check these out. Your art's fantastic. You have an amazing body of work. You're pretty young, and already have like such an incredible gallery of just incredible work. I encourage everybody to check it out.
Well,
Um,
thanks.
Litter Pig, that's your latest creation, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, among them, yeah, it's been a project that I've been working on since really, I guess, the COVID pandemic of 2020 is what kind of kickstarted it. But yeah, it's just
Hmm.
sort of it's a mute comic that just sort of follows sort of this hapless boar in its kind of degraded environment, which is in the Colserola region, which is kind of this park just right behind Barcelona. So it's like a contemporary fable, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, definitely. When I was taking a look at it, it really resonated with me. Like I felt like I was the litter pig. Um, Growing up in Manitoba, every spring, the thaw, you see the litter coming back to life, and it's just part of our environment that isn't depicted in a lot of the landscape art coming from Canada or so I love that your art gets at the cruddy underbelly um, of uh, the reality behind the imagination, the colonial imagination, right? A lot of your work has to do with the train, and that's
Yeah.
something where we both have had a lot of experience.
Hmm.
Do you want to comment on that about how your work kind of
Yeah.
cuts through that imaginary vision of what we were brought up with?
Well, totally. I mean, a lot of what I do when it comes to visual art, I guess, has to do with kind of a lot of these ideas that you're sort of touching on there. Kind of this sort of romanticized, idealistic sort of vision of Canada that is kind of exported, across the country and internationally, especially. Like, there's a lot of propaganda that Canada is, this pristine kind of untouched virgin wilderness where maybe there's parts of that might be true, but much of that is actually a manipulation. When you think of, like, the tar sands are visible from outer space, or the Lake Winnipeg is a rapidly dying lake, and oftentimes we just kind of ignore that, or it's not on our radar. So yeah, the pollution, the litter, the continuing contamination, kind of all of those sort of the layers, I guess, of if you want to call it societal or industrial or civilization's impact on the land. And I guess when I worked as a porter for the railroad for those years, a lot of that was kind of revealed to me in a way that like I'm a city guy, right? Like, growing up in Winnipeg, it wasn't as obvious otherwise,
Hmm.
because you go by and you see, like, the prairies, all the agriculture, you see all the farmland that goes on and on and on. You see the potash piles, like in Saskatchewan. You see how they carve the railroad through the mountains. Um, yeah, so I mean, like, really, there's so many layers to that kind of colonial expansion into Canada and the resource exploitation that continues today.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, and then that identity, like for me, I was mentioning to you how far back in my family history the working on the railway goes, and
Yeah.
even other resource extraction like mining, and I would consider farming basically resource extraction too. Um, and yeah, so it's we're painted this really lovely picture that we can kind of eat up, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's just if you take a look at what's happening in BC right now with well, both coasts are being kind of washed out, and roadways and railways are getting uh, decimated, really. And
Yeah.
it's those two images, the reality and that image is basically tied together, right? We wouldn't be able to do so much resource extraction and uh, uh, I don't want to throw the word ethnic cleansing around there, but like moving people whose area that was off forcibly, which is still happening today in BC. So um, yeah, super important stuff, and it's really great that we have artists like yourself who are getting those ideas to percolate in our collective minds in kind of more subtler ways. I think it's more effective for a lot more people. Um, like for example, your COP26 cartoon. I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit in Canadian
Oh,
Dimension.
sure. Yeah, that was yeah, a cartoon I did for the publication Canadian Dimension. I guess that was earlier this month in November, and yeah, it was basically just kind of a satirical um, illustration, kind of just sort of pointing out the hypocrisy and the contradictions and the spectacle that kind of is COP26 and kind of are these big climate conferences where you have political leaders and business elites flying in from all over the world to kind of put on a show and I mean beyond that I'm not really sure, and especially kind of ironic after these last couple of years where many of us have been working from home, have been trying to navigate the Zoom world, kind of like we're just doing this interview on right now, and yet they kind of insisted on all sort of gathering in one part of the world and putting on a big show. It's interesting.
Private jets and the amount of fuel burned.
Oh yeah, no, it's exorbitant. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, the like prevalence of animals and plants in your work. It seems like in every bit of work you do, animals or plants are kind of at the forefront.
Hmm.
Is that just because of like what we've been talking about, like this interplay between humans and their environment, and it's kind of inevitable to depict plants and animals
Yeah,
because of
no,
that.
I mean, certainly. I mean, definitely, the natural world, the animal world, those environs that are kind of constantly around us interest me. I draw inspiration from, I guess there's something sort of about this sort of degraded landscape, or, just sort of these ideas of like, the landscape that is constantly around us and how it's constantly changing, in different ways, and sort of that fragile, sort of delicate balance of animal and human coexistence and dependency, and like really it's quite fine, I think, ultimately, but we often sort of take things for granted, and um, yeah, yeah. So I mean it's kind of all of that, but and really I think I mean I don't want to come off as like a lot of the work is quite anti-romantic, where, because I think there's a lot of art and a lot of movements that have been out there that are sort of celebrating, the marvels of the outdoors or the animal kingdom of, plants or whatnot. I mean, not that that's problematic, but I guess what I'm more interested in is the tension and kind of what I see as the contamination and the destruction which is happening constantly around us, and especially as our population continues to grow on the planet and resources become more and more exhausted. um, I don't know, leaves a lot to to wonder.
Yeah, but I just love how your work brings that humor to it and takes the, you know, like there's that one scene with the plastic bag in the trees and it says gracias on the plastic bag. It's like, yep, thanks. And it's really funny. The other thing that I kind of motif that I was noticing is sort of like that interbeing kind of aspect of it of animals and plants and humans. There's this one uh, part of Litter Pig where the boar gets this mask or this
Mm,
face stuck on his head,
yeah,
and he's running around and it breaks, and you see his eye and the mask's eye, and it's a human mask, right?
yeah.
And then there's another scene in another one of your works, Dog and Crab, with a similar kind of interbeing kind of element to it, and but it just in such a funny way, without words. I don't know,
Mhm.
how do you do that? How do you how does that where do these images come from?
Well, I guess with Litter Pig One, it was about the boar um, that kind of sort of breaks into this theme park, which is actually a real theme park. It's like an antique amusement park that sits on this mountain called Tibidabo, overlooking Barcelona, and it's kind of a fascinating place. You know, just to kind of see the old the old rides and everything. You know, there's like a Ferris wheel and different things kind of like that. These sort of what do you call those?
Carousel.
Yeah, carousel, and also these sort of they have this collection of like I can't think of the word right now, but they're kind of like they're basically like simple robots that kind of like automatic whatever.
Automatons.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, automatons. Yeah, and anyways, so it kind of breaks in there at night, and I just like kind of thought that'd be kind of a fun venue to have kind of this boar like running around. Yeah, he gets this big like papier mache mask on its head and keeps running through, and it's just sort of like all of these sort of like misadventures of this boar. Like the boar just has miserable luck constantly, but finds a way to make it through because it's like everything's against it. And for many of the boars in Barcelona, like you know, they're considered you know a plague, like overpopulated. You know, they come down into the city and they eat trash. You know, they can cause car accidents. They scare some people. Like Shakira was in the news last month complaining about boars like attacking her and biting her bag or something. So I mean, like they don't make the news for much good, and there's like open call orders on them. So they're kind of these sort of kind of like resistant beasts that come in and out of the mountain, bounce back up into the hills and whatnot. And so, yeah, I kind of was just sort of kind of running with that because I always thought the boar was a very noble beast and very distinct. And you know, it's kind of interesting to see how the boar used to going from a beast that was quite revered in a lot of the cultures, specifically here in Europe, but also I know beyond Europe, and now how it's sort of seen as this sort of like filthy swine, you know, pest. And so when I was kind of articulating that through the drawings, like you know, I made the decision to make it mute, like without written text, largely because you know since I'm living in Barcelona here, I don't have huge confidence in my writing capabilities in Catalan or in Castilian Spanish. So I thought, you know, also it would just sort of it takes you somewhere else when it's all in images and pictures, and it might slow you down to really kind of immerse yourself and look at these drawings. And you know, I was inspired by also like sort of these sort of classic etchings and also sort of like the underground cartoon movements the last while as well. So it's kind of a mix of all that.
Cool. Yeah, and your short film Cold Shot short animation too. That was
Yeah.
silent as well. And I was talking with my family because we all watched it together, and we were commenting that it reminded us of the NFB shorts growing up, and how it just had this classic feel to it. And one of my brothers was saying how it's kind of genius to have no words because the French English, like you could get so much play in French Canada and English Canada,
Yeah.
right? Um, but also Spanish. I didn't even think about that part of it.
Yeah, with Cold Shot, I mean, yeah, it does have sound, but it doesn't have any dialogue. Yeah, and I
Yeah,
mean, Andy Rudolph and Kelsey Braun put together a really amazing sound component for the film. And as you know, Dave Street recorded some great sort of sound footage of the train. And no, they did together. They really made a really haunting, beautiful soundtrack to accompany
yeah,
the image.
yeah. It
Yeah,
was really effective. That soundtrack, the sound, the chug, chug, the slow chug of the northern train.
hmm,
It was just amazing, incredible touch. Made it transported, like made it real. Brought it to life and made it like brought me back there.
yeah.
I wanted to go back a little bit. We were talking about the boar and how he was a noble kind of beast, and
Mhm.
people generally probably had better relations with animals in history. And I mean, when we talk about depictions of animals in art, and you're in Europe right now, I've always been fascinated by cave art and
Yeah.
depictions of plants and animals through the ages. Right. I think that there must be something very deep beyond our understanding of the process of artistic creation and depictions of animals. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you feel a connection to the cave artists? Do you think you're part of that same thread of humanity, or am I just overblowing this completely?
I mean, cave art's fascinating, and yeah, like you're right. There's some really phenomenal examples. Not too far from where I am here. Like there's, the caves up in southern France, and then there's the caves down in like Cantabria. Like it's amazing. Like I was looking at some. I look at those images every now and then because there is something kind of what's the word? I mean, there's a current that kind of connects us to that past, and as much as there's been huge changes from our society now to, I guess, societies 20,000 years ago that would have been making these images, or even longer. Like I think the ones in Cantabria, they're from the oldest images are from 37,000 years ago or something,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is just kind of hard to imagine. And then I think there some of those collections of paintings were done over a 20,000 year period, and it's like I don't even I have a hard time trying to sort of harness that time frame, because
That's
then
what
you
I
just
mean. It's like it's
yeah,
beyond our understanding,
yeah,
you know? Transcendent might be a word because it
totally.
transcends our individuality and our conceptions, and it's yeah, it's fascinating. But yeah, it's do you, like when you are, you know, when you find yourself in your process, um, um, do you have it all in mind? Like, is it a very rational process, or are you kind of letting stuff flow?
Um,
Do you plan everything out beforehand? You know exactly what you're going to do?
it's a mix. It's a mix. I mean,
Hmm.
sometimes I will make sort of painstaking notes and studies and sort of try different things out and work it all through. And then other times I'll just sort of improvise and go from image to image, or just get an idea and just jump into it and not not pontificate on it too long or anything like that. So it's a mix, kind of depends.
Do you have any fond memories or any other like interesting stories of the Winnipeg art scene? How long have you been away? And do you plan on coming
Um,
back at all?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I'll be back in Winnipeg in the not too far distant, but I'm out here now. But no, I mean I love Winnipeg. Winnipeg is home in so many ways, and I mean Winnipeg has such a thriving and interesting art community. Across like for music, for film, for fine art, visual art. So I think yeah, it's always gonna be a place I'm coming back to, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, Winnipeg inspires me for so many different reasons. So um, yeah, I don't know. I guess I have a bunch of stories, but I don't know.
Um, yeah, I wouldn't want to. I know some of them might not be uh, safe for work, so we'll save that for after. But let me go back to Dog and Crab here.
Okay.
I love this. I love this, and it was this was a collaboration with a friend of yours, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
And I want to give a shout out to Blaft Publications, BLAFT Publications.
that's right.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Um, their books are just gorgeous
Yeah,
and
they do.
super interesting.
Yeah, yeah. No, they do incredible stuff there at Blaft. Yeah. So, do you want me to sort of give a brief sort of rundown of that
Oh,
project, or?
yeah, how did that project come about? And what were you trying to say with it?
Um, well, basically, so Misha Michael, who was the collaborator, we worked together to make Dog and Crab. She kind of approached me a while back. We're old friends from art school. We've known each other for, I don't know, probably more than 15 years. Um, and and wanted to do like a zine, together. Because she's made zines in the past, I've made zines in the past, but we'd never done one together. And I'd gone out to Chennai to visit her and attend her wedding, where she lives. She lives in Chennai, and Blaff Publications is based in Chennai in Tamil Nadu, India. Um, in 2018, I'm gonna like make sure my dates are right here. Yeah, 2018, and so I was out there for under 3 weeks, but had a great time, and was really moved by the city and how 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 different everything was from what I was kind of used to in Winnipeg, for example. And I met everybody at Blaft when I was down there on that trip, and then basically that kind of got things going. So during the pandemic, Misha said, "Hey, let's do this," and basically we kind of shot around ideas for a while. Misha's really fascinated with hermit crabs, so that was kind of one of the main points there. And then I guess we kind of wanted to tie in kind of the city, the urbanscape, and kind of these urban animals, because urban animals I think are a theme that we both kind of uh, are interested in, and so the Chennai street dog sort of became kind of a very interesting way to kind of explore and move through the city with. And then the hermit crab was kind of I mean, they're fascinating crabs, I guess, if you think of how they can make a home out of all of these different sort of objects and change homes and move about, kind of how they all order themselves. So yeah, that was kind of it, really. We kind of used the street dog and the hermit crab to kind of make this sort of poetic story of this place in a way. And so I kind of followed Misha's lead on a lot of it, because she lives in Chennai, and she did all the text, and yeah, I provided a number of pages of images, kind of following the street dog through the city. And Misha did these amazing drawings of the beach, and yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, it's a beautiful book. It's great, great little zine. Um, yeah, so Was there anything else that you wanted to cover, or mention, like art projects coming up, or anything like that?
Well, I guess I'm kind of always working on different things. So I have an animation right now that I'm working on. Can't talk too much about it right now, but it's sort of taking place in New France. It's about a courier in New France in the 17th century, and also sort of working on some big drawings that are kind of revisiting the railroad theme, actually, for a show that should be in Winnipeg in the spring, kind of revolving around Tyndallstone, actually, which is kind of interesting and kind of connects to a bit what we're talking about here. Because from what I understand, Tyndallstone, is it's quarried in Manitoba, like it's that one type of stone, and it's been used in many much of the construction and development of Western Canada. So yeah.
Cool, cool. Yeah. Important stories, and important perspectives. Yeah, I really appreciate what you do. And
Thanks, Josh.
thanks for taking the time with me today. Your website is evancollis.com, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody should check it out. Do you sell prints of your paintings, or do you just sell, or
I
are they for
mean,
sale?
yeah, I mean, it's a mix, if you're interested in anything in particular, just shoot me a message and talk about it. But down the line, I might do like a limited edition of some prints. But yeah, right now it's mostly just the zines and and originals here and there. But yeah, we can talk.
Cool, cool. Right on. Okay.
All right.
Thanks
Thanks
so
so
much,
much,
Evan.
eh?
For
All right,
sure.
take care.
You
Ciao.
too. See ya.